on the beach. There is music, people and the sun. Please listen to the funky sound of the sunrise of Japan.
Guess it crept away. welcome? Will you please welcome Randy Gay?
Mark van Linden.
Got up early, found something's missing. My only name. No one else sees, but I got stuck. It seemed forever came. Stop pushing on for just a second. Then nothing's changed.
Will you please welcome Randy Gay?
Thank you. Thank you. So what do you do when your dream dies? Do you sit down and cry? Do you give it up and let it die? Or do you give it one more try? Let me tell you the way it worked for me. I came to work one morning about 11 o'clock. There were two people sitting in a car waiting for me, and I got there. And you see what had happened, let me tell you the preview to this. I had a restaurant, bought it with a partner of mine. We kind of bootstrapped the thing.
Mark van Linden. Mark van Linden.
Got up early, found something's missing. My only name. No one else sees, but I got stuck. It seemed forever came. Stop pushing on for just a second. Then nothing's changed. Who am I this time? Where's my name? Guess it crept away. No one's calling for me at the door. And unpredictable won't bother anymore. And silently, it's hard to ignore. Look straight ahead, there's nothing left to see. What's done is done. This life has got its hold on me. Just let it go. One that can never be. So
Will you please welcome Randy Gay? Will you please welcome Randy Gay?
Thank you. Thank you. So what do you do when your dream dies? Do you sit down and cry? Do you give it up and let it die? Or do you give it one more try? Let me tell you the way it worked for me. I came to work one morning about 11 o'clock. There were two people sitting in a car waiting for me, and I got there. And you see, what had happened, let me tell you the preview to this. I'd had a restaurant, bought it with a partner of mine. We kind of bootstrapped the thing. Didn't really have enough money to start it like we should have. And we tried to grow it as best we could, but we didn't pay the taxes, and we struggled by and borrowed from this account to that account and this account to that account. And eventually I bought him out, and I sent a letter to the IRS, who's the tax agency there in the States, and said, I'm the new owner here. We've had some problem with taxes. I want to make this right. Let's work out a payment plan. And I never heard anything for 3 months. So I sent a check in there. Here's a deposit, $1,000, good faith. Didn't hear anything for 3 months, so I sent another check, another letter. Never heard a thing for a couple of months until that morning. They're waiting on the car. You missed a gauge? Yes. I'm agent so-and-so. This is agent so-and-so. We're here from the Internal Revenue Service. We have your letters here. We have your files here. And we notice, you have $15,000 in back taxes. So we need that money. There's a 100% penalty because they were not filed. So that's $30,000. And then there's the late fees and the interest payment and the this and the that. And we need $37,000 today, or we're going to seize your restaurant. So I was like, I must have left my checkbook at home, right? And so I called my lawyer, I called my accountant, they all said the same thing. There's nothing you can do, Randy. You got to work something out with these people. And I remember hiring a consultant who used to be an IRS agent, and she negotiated with him. She called me one day and she said, Randy, we're at the end of the road. The way they keep compliance is they have to set some examples sometimes, and you had a busy delivery business and they saw those cars going all the time with the signs on them, and they need to make examples, and they just want to make you an example. And so they auctioned off the place on the courthouse steps, $500,000 a year operation. They auctioned it off for $11,000. And I couldn't beg, borrow, or steal $11,000 to get it out of hock, so that was the end of my dream. And I remember driving along in the car that day, not even my car because I didn't have a car anymore. I remember driving along in my friend's car and crying in the car, thinking, I have to call my mother and tell her this. I have to tell my friends this. I mean, I was so ashamed. I was so humiliated. I didn't know what I could do. How was I going to tell people that I had lost my business? And between the $37,000 I owed those guys and then the money I owed to the vendors, whatever money I had left that day, I took and paid off the employees and said, this is the last check you're going to get, so do what you can with it. And that left me $55,000 US, $55,000 in debt. No house, no car, no credit cards, no job. And what do you do in a situation like that? Well, when you have your dream. And see, that was the biggest dream I had at that point in my life. Because as you heard from Ford, I'm a high school dropout. I started off as a dishwasher in a pancake house. And then I worked my way up to cook, and then I became a waiter, and then I was a manager trainee. And I thought, boy, if I could just be a restaurant manager, that would be, I could wear a tie, I'd go around with the coffee pot. How's your dinner this evening? Everything okay? I thought, oh, this would be it. Until I got that job. And then I realized I worked 60, 70, sometimes 80 hours a week for a fixed salary. And, and then I became like the problem store manager, and they sent me around to different cities whenever they had a store losing money. They would send me there, and it was my job there to go and be the turnaround guy. So I'd go in and work on the payroll, work on the food costs, the controllable expenses, make the thing profitable, and they'd send me somewhere else. I lived in 18 cities in 5 years. So think what kind of home life you have, what kind of friends. You don't have any friends. You don't, because people stop calling you. Because every time they call you, you're always working. And you never go to the movies, and you never go to dinner, and you never go anywhere, so they just stop calling you. And your work becomes your life. And I know we've got people in this room tonight and people watching on this film today who going through the same thing. We get out of balance. We get so busy chasing our income, we forget about living life. We forget about living our dreams. So anyway, that was my dream. I thought to run a restaurant until I got it. And then I said, wow, this is crazy. I'm minimum wage here. When I divide all these hours I'm working with what I'm doing, I know what I got to do. I need to own my own restaurant. That would be the dream. And that's the great American dream, of course, and back in the States, is you get your own business and you start it up. And so that's what I did. And I saved my money and I worked hard and I played by the rules and I did all the stuff you're supposed to do. And I got that restaurant until that day when it all ended like that. And all of a sudden, where do you go when you don't have that dream anymore? And, in my case, I had to back up, and I'll talk about that in a sec, but I don't want to talk about me tonight. I want to talk about you tonight. I want to talk about your dream. And I mean the big dreams, the bold, daring, imaginative ones you had. The ones you had when you were 15 years old, and 18 years old, 20 years old. Because what I see people give up on their dreams. And it seems the older we get, the more we give up on our dreams. And talk to any kid who's 15 years old and they know they're going to have a great car when they grow up and a great house and a great job and a wonderful spouse, and they're going to be rich and they're going to be successful and they're going to be an astronaut or a football star or a rock star or whatever, right? There's no limits to what they can dream. And what happens along the way? They get out, they go to school, they get out as 22, 23 years old, all of a sudden they take a job they don't really want. It's not their dream job, but they figure it'll do for right now. And then maybe they find out about another job, and that's not their dream job, but it's a little more money than the last one. And they meet someone along the way, and all of a sudden there's two, and then there's a little baby on the way, and there's another baby, and then there's diapers and formula and braces and all of those kind of things. And all of a sudden they take another job that's 500 miles away, but again, it pays a few $1,000s more a year, so they take that job. And all of a sudden you're 35 years old, you're 45 years old, you're 55 years old, and you forgot about your dreams. That's what tonight is about. I know you heard it's a business opportunity. Nah, it's a dream opportunity. How to get your dreams back. I noticed this because I like sports cars. Some of you all know me. I got a car thing going on. And it's funny, I'll be sitting at the light in one of my Vipers, let's say, and some car will pull up next, and there'll be a guy driving there, and he's got his 2-3 kids in there in the back, and they'll roll down the window, "Hey, Mr. Viper, man, cool car, man, and, rev the engine up. I can't wait. When I grow up, I'm going to get a Viper."